we promised, we are going to tackle a very important topic regarding tourism. Tourism, of course, we do welcome all our guests coming from all over the world, but what about domestic tourism? And what about its importance when it comes to a slight comparison between the domestic and the external tourism? Well, we are enjoying Eid. We are enjoying the vacation of Eid al-Adha. Well, you are going to find that all hotels all over Egypt, in the Red Sea resorts and in the Mediterranean cities, they are fully booked. To what extent that this is important, to what extent this is a leap, to what extent this is really helping in the development of this sector, we are going to know the details and to answer all these questions with our dear guest via phone, Mr. Yehia Abdul. Well, he is a tourism expert, and I think that he has a lot to say regarding this issue. First, a very good morning to you, sir, and happy Eid.
Good morning and happy Eid to you, Ms. Niveen.
Sir, I don't know if you heard me or no speaking about domestic tourism. Before going into the details, in comparison, to what extent domestic tourism is important? Of course, in cooperation, or if I can make this kind of comparison between external tourism and internal tourism or domestic tourism.
Well, wishing you and your audience a very blissful Eid Mubarak, and to the Arab and Muslim world as well. Really, domestic tourism, represents or generates 35% of gross revenues of the travel industry. It creates employment and motivates local economy, generates direct income at times of crisis, when pandemics prevail or political tensions threatens air travel or disrupts, safe traffic between destinations. Domestic tourism is a vital segment of the travel industry worldwide. It promotes a national identity where local travelers enjoy the cultural heritage of their homeland.
Well, sir, the network of roads, the new access, the new bridges, the development of infrastructure in general, I think it's one of the main pillars, of the main factors behind the flourish of domestic tourism. How do you see this, and to what extent what I said is really true and tangible on the ground?
Well, really, this is, a very integral and strategic part of the travel industry, because you need, a solid transportation, system to move visitors, whether on local, domestic, or international grounds. Mm-hmm. For example, to develop, excellent services for the domestic travel market of Egypt, we need to provide recreational facilities, services for local travelers, and developing infrastructure projects. For example, we need such a transportation network, and currently Egypt has a sophisticated railway service that links Ain Sokhna to Marsa Matruh. Another extension links, Cairo to Luxor and Aswan. So this is going to facilitate travel, and, thousands and millions of travelers will be safely and, diligently, traveling from one destination in short periods and enjoy the routes and the travel. Still, we have air travel is a solid part of local domestic travel in Egypt, because Egypt Air connects weekend visitors to remote regions, like Siwa, Sinai, Abu Simbel, Sharm el-Sheikh, Marsa Alam, Marsa Matruh, where travelers can enjoy the summer resorts, like what they're currently doing in Alexandria and North Coast and Alamein, and doing on the Red Sea resort, stretching all the way from Taba up to Sharm el-Sheikh, Qader, and Marsa Alam. So really, we have excellent vacations for domestic travel, whether in the summer or in the winter, retreats year-round.
In the winter, I think it's another story when In the winter, it's the season of Upper Egypt, of Luxor, Aswan, and I think we need some also modifications on our tourism map. We need to add Edfu, El Minya. We need to add many other places on our tourism map for us, for Egyptians to enjoy their country. True?
Yeah, that's true. Like that's why universities and associations and syndicates, and social clubs and sports clubs. I talk to my friends who are like members of these clubs, and they tell me that year round they go to Fayoum, they go to Minya, to Bani Suef, to Sohag, to Asyut, Esna, Edfo, with throughout, coaches, a sophisticated, like travel system, or they use the network of railroads, or they go through cruising the Nile,
Yeah.
So really, Upper Egypt is so popular for around 8 months per year, year round.
Sir, it was published in many of our even newspapers that Luxor and Cairo have been selected to be among the top trending destinations in the world in 2022, according to Travelers' The Choice Awards of the world's largest travel guidance platform, TripAdvisor. How do you see, sir, the choice of both of Cairo and Luxor, and particularly Cairo? Luxor, of course, it's okay. I mean, I can expect that. But Cairo with all the diversity it has, how do you see this choice?
Well, really, this is, very fair, and specifically because Cairo is a grand metropolis, for over 1,000 years. It became like the jewel of Africa and the top, of the Mediterranean and the Arab world. So really, we talk historically about travelers, since, the days, of the Fatimiyad who established Cairo, and then the later generations, the Ayyubi, the Mamluks. So we have Arab travelers who are going all the way from the far, corners of Africa, from Morocco, going all the way to Mecca, to Persia and India. And Cairo has been like the gem, as you see the travels of the Jubair, and then recently, in the 18th century, when we have the French expedition, and then the developments of Cairo throughout the Muhammad Ali dynasty, and then since the 50s, and currently we have a very contemporary and sophisticated capital that enjoys, its traditional, Khan Khalili and Mamluk architecture and archaeology. We have Saqqara, we have El Giza. So it's so colorful, with charm, with education, with theaters, with writers, with philosophers, with leaders. So Cairo has been so charming and attract many visitors and many people who come to Egypt, for example, for education or for jobs as diplomats or whatever. They settle down, and the subject, to the charm and magic of our capital, Cairo. Yes.
Jim is going to be, inshallah, a turning point in the tourism map of Egypt in general and of Cairo, of our dear old capital in the first place. But, sir, if you permit me to focus more on Old Cairo, of the renovation of Old Cairo, of Islamic Cairo, of Ain al-Sira, of the lake there, of El Fustat Museum, of even the Mummies Parade, which took place 2 years ago, and I think the whole world was really watching this wonderful event, and it acted also as a turning point which attracted thousands or maybe millions of people from all over the world to watch, to visit the wonderful place and the wonderful museum. If you agree with me on that and on the importance of such events and renovations.
Well, really, definitely, the parade, of the royal mummies from the Cairo Museum in Tahrir up to Al Fustat Museum of Civilization on April 3rd last year. And then we have the Rams Avenue, celebration between El Karnak and Luxor temples on November 25th. These have been highlighting really, all the charm and magic of Cairo. We have seen the world media, lining up to record and update and display and report these events. I think the travel to Egypt increased by 30% after, these two events, because they were very colorful, and very enchanting, and highlighting as well, exhilarating, because for a long time we didn't have, such, sophisticated and beautiful and well-organized parades. So this is one thing, and then you talked about really in Sira and Fustat, the oldest Arabic capital in Egypt and the Museum of Civilization. It's a great facelift of this area, and the aqueduct as well has been renovated within 2 years, and now it's a great attraction. Many visitors fly worldwide to come to visit the Civilization Museum. Plus, the Cairo has been subject to a facelift for the past 3 years, and if you tour, downtown Cairo, Khadiveh, Cairo, it's amazing how the buildings and all architecture of the Renaissance has been renovated. So it's so colorful, and shortly, El Mugamma, the business complex is going to be turning into a first-class hotel. This is going to be a great addition of locations for visitors to stay at and enjoy throughout their tours and stay in Cairo, inshallah.
Yes. Sir, also spreading awareness. I mean, not all Egyptians know much about the wonderful tourism sites we have. Of course, they know that Luxor and Aswan are such great places and wonderful destinations, but not all of us were able to go or were eager even to go because it's ours. We can go anytime. But to know that these are treasures which we should all visit, and we should even teach our kids, our sons and our daughters, that this is part and parcel of their sense of belonging. When they feel attached to such places, it's a part of their patriotism, of their pride of being Egyptians. How do you see this, and how we can reach this point? Is it through the curricula in school? Is it through media? It's our role. Is it through the building our character? Because the head of a state is keen all the time to speak about building the Egyptian character, maintaining the Egyptian identity. What I'm saying is a big part of this issue, of this very important issue.
Yes, definitely. The Ministry of Tourism and Architecture and Archaeology is doing a great job. They have now professionals that I met recently in a conference, and they develop the media. For example, the Cairo Museum in Tahrir, he has a corner for teaching, kids and children, Egyptian archaeology and heritage and civilization. The same thing, they have a department now at the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities that's, doing this on social media, doing contests and competition and making tours. And we have 50 colleges of tourism and tour guidance between government and public and private. So really we have a strong force, of educators, and scholars. And even the College of Mass Comm at Cairo University, currently they have a program for tourism promotion. So the whole country, is feeling like a spirit of awakening and a renaissance. And they love so much, to know their history. And now we have many private groups, if you watch social media, they make tours, with exotic places in Matruh, in Siwa, in Kharga, all over Egypt. They make it the untrodden places. They show it to the public, and they plan tours year-round, summer and winter. So you can feel these vibrations that the whole country is awakening again and celebrating its heritage, civilization, and culture. And all schools, government and private, now they start conducting, students. And if you go to the museums on weekends and weekdays, you will
Sir,
find,
all this is really great, and I do appreciate every word you said. But, my dream is, I mean, with all my respect to Superman, for example, what about having an animation about Ramses II and to be our superhero? What about having the stories of Akhenaten, for example, in animation? What about having the stories about Isis and about Osiris, rather than resorting to international series, or at least to have this in addition to that, side by side, what about having Hur Muhib as the man of architecture? For example, I mean, I'm just giving some examples. How do you see having the literature for children depending, in a way, on our history, on our cultural heritage?
Well, really, this is absolutely true, and genuine. Whatever you are proposing now, I mean, because when I was in Los Angeles, like Spielberg, he produced an animation about Prince of Egypt, and it was the story of Prophet Moses, and his people when they lived, during the times of Ramesses, there were 12 of them. So that was a U.S. animation of our history and heritage. So this is really the role of both Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Culture and, the Egyptian media. You are truly, genuinely proposing this concept. We have to work together to produce our own animation and our own movies. So, young men and women will be familiar with the roles of great leaders, Amos, Hormahab, Akhenaten. He was like the first monotheist in history. The role of Queen Hatshepsut and her trade negotiations with East Africa. So really we have a very colorful history throughout Pharaonic, throughout Greek-Roman, Coptic, Arab, contemporary. So really we have to work hard, to promote this, to upgrade the status and make people more proud of their achievements and what currently our government is doing now to upgrade the status of Egypt. Yes.
Mr. Abdul Qader, I'd like to focus or to another side of the coin. As we speak, here in Cairo, you are going to find also sports tourism in a way. How? For example, Egypt is hosting the African competition for gymnastics, the African competition for handball, which is going to start today or tonight, to be accurate. Egypt is going to face Cameroon in their first match of the tournament. Of course, every and each player, one of the coaching staff, the administrative delegation, they are going to return back to their countries with memories about Egypt, with the wonderful organization, with the tourism sites, the touristic sites they visited. How do you see also sports tourism as another side of the coin which we should focus on, or we should pay attention, we should shed more light on such events, which is really part and parcel of our sports tourism?
Well, really, sports tourism, is a major contributor to the international tourism worldwide. And remember now how thank God we have excellent athletes that winners all the time. Look at Besant, she won 2 medals, like her colleagues, like men and women in Algeria, currently in the U.S., we have competitions. And now like one sports like squash is being like totally dominated by men and women of Egypt.
By us,
so really,
yes.
Yeah, so really we have seen like a renaissance for Egyptian sport. And this is a great, contribution to the image of the country and its policy, to develop the talents and skills of their young men and women. Mm-hmm. And many countries worldwide, they compete to hold like World Cup or the Olympics, like Brasilia, Germany, Paris, whatever. So really Egypt has been like the hub for world contests and competitions. We had like the African, football contest, 2 years ago. So really this is a very solid policy of the government to make Egypt, the hub for world contests in Africa, Arab world, Mediterranean, and internationally. And thank God we are, doing progress in fencing and equestrian, in karate, and even in sumo, which is a Japanese sport. Now it's being doing, Egyptians are doing well and winning awards and medals.
And the great coach Abdurrahman Shaban did great for another Abdurrahman, our player, and because of him we clinched the gold. Yes, sir. And thank you very much for mentioning him. Well, Mr. Yehia Abdul, our sports, our tourism expert, thank you very much for your input, sir. Have a very good day and happy Eid once again. Well, right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.